Hey, what's up everybody? It's time for another awesome tutorial. This one's called Stone Cold. The objectives for this particular tutorial include learning how to manage and duplicate layers, as well as understanding and applying layer effects and layer styles. So what you'll need to do is download the Carved Stone PDF from the associated Canvas page. Once it's been downloaded, go ahead and open it up in Photoshop. The first thing that we're going to want to do is duplicate our layer. And there's a number of ways to do this. Probably the fastest and easiest way is to press Command J on the Mac, or if you're on a PC, press Control J. And you'll see over here in our layers palette that now we have a duplicated layer. Now to organize our layers, let's go ahead and rename this one, and I'm going to do that by double clicking on layer 1, and I'm going to name this Rock. The next step is to write the words Stone Cold. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the text tool over here on the Tools palette. The shortcut is the letter T on the keyboard. And I'm going to just click one time, and I'm going to write Stone on one line, hit enter, and Cold on the next line. And in order to scale it up, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Move tool, and if you haven't already done so, go ahead and select the Auto Select and the Show Transform Controls boxes. And then that gives us the bounding boxes here that allow us then to scale it however we'd like. So I'm going to grab one of the corners, I'm going to hold Shift while I do that, and then I'm going to scale it up to be pretty big. And then I'm just going to hit enter to lock it into place. Now you notice on mine that it's left aligned. And so to get it to be center aligned, I'm going to go ahead and grab the paragraph box, and I'm just going to select the center align button, and then I'm just going to bring that into the center. If you're using it, one of the latest versions of Adobe Photoshop, then you'll probably be seeing these little pink guides around, and so this is a really great way to be able to center this. And so I'm just going to kind of drag it until I get the horizontal and vertical centers, and that's how I know it is centered. So after centering the text, I'm going to go ahead and hide the Stone Cold layer, the text layer, by pressing this little I, and that just hides the layer from being visible. So the next step is something a little tricky. What we're going to essentially do is we are going to select the outline of the text, but we're going to apply that to the rock layer. So the first thing I need to do is select the rock layer, and then I'm going to hold down the Command key or the Control key on a PC, and I'm going to select the T icon. And you'll notice that as I select it, that now I get this dotted line, this blinking line that is outlining the shape of the text. But it's important to note that it's actually selected on the rock layer. So essentially what we want to do is we want to get rid of everything except for the Stone Cold text. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything but the shape of the text. And to do that, I'm going to hold down Shift, Command, and I, or Shift Control I on a PC. And that selects the inverse. And then all I need to do is press the backspace key. And right now it doesn't look like anything's happened, but if you look at the thumbnail over here on the layers, you'll see that it's a little bit different. So I'm going to deselect the Stone Cold by pressing Command D or Control D on the PC. And if I just hide my background layer, then I can actually see what I did. And so you should now have the words Stone Cold, but it should be made up of that awesome red rock image. And it's to this layer that we're actually going to start applying a lot of the layer effects to create layer styles. So the layer effects can be found at the bottom of the layers palette. It's this little FX button here. And if I click that, I get a number of options of different effects that I can apply. We are going to start with the inner shadow. So once you click inner shadow, it brings up this options box. And we are going to apply some specific settings. However, I encourage you to really play around with the settings just to kind of see what they do and how they really manipulate the image. So for inner shadow, I'm going to change the angle here to 143, and I'm going to uncheck this use global light box. What global light is basically one light that affects your entire image if it is selected. So all your layers will have essentially the same shadows and things like that. If you uncheck it, then it's as if each layer is being affected by a separate light. So you can have different shadows and things like that depending on your needs. Then I'm going to change my distance to 10. And I'm going to change the size to 8. Don't close the options box yet because we're going to add some more effects to that layer. The next thing we're going to do is the bevel and emboss. So I'm going to click the checkbox and then I'm going to select it so I can get all the options for bevel and emboss, and I'm going to apply the following settings. For style, I'm going to choose emboss. For technique, I'm going to choose chisel hard. I'm going to change the depth to 600 and the size to 2. Next, in the shading section, I'm going to uncheck the use global light option. I'm going to change the angle to 59 and the altitude to 40. Now, as you're noticing, as you are changing these settings, you can actually see it taking effect on your actual document. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the highlight mode color swatch. So this white box right here. And when I click on it, a color picker appears. Now, what I can do is I can go onto my image and my cursor turns into a little eyedropper. And what you're going to want to do is select part of the area that is bright. So one of the brightest kind of orangey colors that you can see on there. And then I'm just going to select it, click one time to select it, and you notice it's this kind of this yellowy tan color. I'm going to hit OK. So now I have this highlight mode is this kind of this creamy yellow color. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the highlight mode opacity to 60% and the shadow mode opacity to 100. Now again, keeping the layer style box open, we're going to go and change one more of the layer effects, and that is the color overlay. So I'm going to select the checkbox for color overlay and then select it so I can change the properties, and I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay and the opacity to 23. And then if yours isn't already, make sure that the color swatch here is black, and then go ahead and hit OK and close the layer style options box. So you can kind of see that it's looking more and more like it's becoming carved into the stone. To make it look more like it's being carved into the stone, what we're going to want to do is kind of mess with these edges a little bit to make them look more chiseled. So to do that, go up to your menu bar and select Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And in the Levels options box, just move the gray output levels slider to the left until you reach approximately 210. So I'm going to bring that to 210, and you'll notice that it's just making things a little bit darker. And then I can hit OK, close that up. The next thing we're going to do is create what's called a layer mask. So I want to make sure that my rock layer is still selected on my layers palette, and then I'm going to press Command or Control on a PC and then click the T icon on the stone cold layer so that my text is once again selected with that blinking line. Next, I'm going to click the Layer Mask button on the bottom of the Layers palette, and you'll notice that it created a new thumbnail image on the rock layer. Essentially, with layer masks, everything that is white is what's going to be affected, and everything that's black will not. The next step is adding a filter that makes the edges look a little bit more chiseled. So go up to your menus bar and select Filter, and then go down to the Filter Gallery. Once you're in the Filter Gallery, choose Brush Strokes and then Spatter. We want to enter 10 for the spray radius and then 10 also for the smoothness. And you can see over here that it's starting to kind of give it that little bit of a chiseled look. Then once that's applied, go ahead and hit OK. And you'll notice immediately on your image that it kind of gives it that more chiseled look around the edges. The last thing that we need to do to really make this look like it's carved into the rock is we're going to duplicate the rock layer. So once again, the quick and easy way to do that is Command J on the Mac, Control J on a PC. And then we just want to change the settings for a couple of these layer styles. So to do that, let's double click on the Bevel and Emboss layer, and it once again opens up the options for that particular layer style. And I'm going to change the style to Stroke Emboss, and I'm going to set the depth to 1000. Then I'm going to click in the Color Overlay options, and I'm going to change the blend mode from overlay to multiply, and I'm going to set the opacity to 30. And then I'm going to click OK. And so when you're all finished, this is what your image should look like. Lastly, go ahead and save your image by going File, Save As, and you're going to want to save this as a JPEG. And so all you have to do is change the format down here to JPEG, and then obviously choose where you want to save it, click Save, and then you can leave all these options the same, click OK, and that's it. You are ready to turn it in. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned a couple things about managing layers and adding layer styles, and we'll see you next time.